I am a psychic medium. That's what I do for work. Welcome to the Messages from Heaven television show. My name is Anne LoCicero, and I have been working in Connecticut as a psychic medium since 1994. My job, I often think about like what exactly is it with the mediumship? That's my job, and all I know is that there is an afterlife. I don't care what you call it. I call it heaven. There's no other better word for me. I can't think of a better word. I mean,
the funniest, I can't even, I'm sorry, it's just so funny that Tim, he would be like, he didn't believe in this kind of stuff at all. Like, he was just like,
really?
Adamant, yeah.
Oh no, he's flying through with flying.
He's got this
great. My goal is to present raw, uncut, and unedited live readings on camera for you. I'll be doing this by presenting and sharing with you messages from heaven. Let me inspire you with the reality of mediumship. Hi, and welcome to Messages from Heaven. I am your host, psychic medium Anne LoCicero. And today I decided that in this episode, I wanted to tackle a topic that I have never yet seen nor found in a search anybody talk about yet when it comes to psychics, at least not in depth with a psychic or with people who actually have validity to make the statement itself. What am I talking about? Well, I'm not just talking about messages from heaven or psychic mediumship. I'm talking about statements and things that have been said to me in the last 30 years, quite a few times even, maybe 10 to 12 times. Somebody has said this statement to me or made comments to me about this. Here's an example. I was spoken down to once for my lack of real help on situations in the real world. I was told, why am I wasting my time or charging people to talk to their loved ones when there's real loved ones missing that I should be talking to? Or why would I be so frivolous to charge somebody to find a missing ring from their grandmother that's lost when I could be finding a missing person instead? So I decided to name this show, You're a Psychic Medium? How come you can't find missing persons or solve cases? I think that's a pretty wild topic. And quite honestly, I sat back and I thought to myself, Rebecca, don't do this. Don't do this. Rebecca Ann, do not do this. But because there are people in my world that I have met related to missing persons cases over the years, which is all really because of one person in particular, I figured, well, I'm just going to reach out to her and have her come on my show. So today, I would say that I have a dear, dear friend on. And her name is Mary Engelbrecht. And with Mary Engelbrecht, I have another person who I've met through readings, who I do consider a friend, who is definitely Mary's friend, Terry Shanks. Yes. Hi, guys.
Hi. Thank you for having us on your show.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
There's the butterflies.
You're beautiful.
Yeah. Gotta have them.
Gotta.
It works, right?
Absolutely.
I know that's important to you, even though they're monarchs and not blue butterflies. I know that it's important to you. So here's what I'm going to say. Not everybody watching right away may know who you are just by your names. And
not at all.
I'm going to start by introducing you in this show the way I was introduced to you. I got an email. I want to book an appointment. Okay. Here's when you come. All right. And into my office walks Mary. And I don't know who you are from Adam.
Right.
And from what I remember, I believe I brought in a parent.
Yes.
And then I brought in your sister.
That's correct.
And I remember thinking to myself, wow, she's really young.
Yes.
And we discussed it. And we discussed not anything that was related at all to why you're on the show.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I literally
That's
had
accurate.
a reading with you, and you never told me who your sister was until
Not at all.
after.
I didn't, but you picked up on a lot of things. You didn't know anything.
Right. So
Right.
your sister is Janice Pockett.
Correct.
Janice Pockett went missing July 26, 1973.
Yes.
From Tolland, Connecticut.
Yes.
You were with her on a ride and you found a butterfly and you went home and your mom let her go back out with her bike by herself to get this butterfly.
Yes.
And that's it.
Never came home.
Never
We
came
never saw
home.
her again. We only found her bike.
Her bike.
About a
Not
half
even the
hour
butterfly.
later. Not even the butterfly. Nothing.
And this year it's 50 years.
It'll be 50 years this summer that she's been missing.
When did you come see me?
It was 2013.
Did you go back and listen?
10 years ago.
10 years? Oh my God, it was 10 years
10
ago
years
I
ago.
met you?
Yeah, 10 years ago.
And we're going to fast forward to
And,
how I met you, but not yet. Hold on. Because
10
that's
years
another
ago.
whole
Yeah.
story.
Oh, yeah, that's another one. Yeah. Yeah, it was 10 years
years
ago.
ago.
Yes. Yep.
To have read you the way I did and to feel the love and to be able to share the connection and to speak to your sister who I knew crossed young, had to have at that point in time, first of all, I wouldn't have known how many psychics you may have seen or heard from or mediums you may have talked to because I didn't know who you were.
You didn't even know my first name.
You are what I would call a psychic magnet for psychics who know shit, stuff, whatever, bleep.
Unfortunately, it's become that
True,
way, yes. But
right?
Yes.
So for you to book with me and for me to be able to read for you was so pure for me. And then I
Absolutely.
absolutely fell in love with you, but I didn't contact you again. We never had contact again
No.
for many years.
Right, correct. It was
Because
quite a few years.
I knew who you were, but I was like, oh my gosh. So I will tell the studio audience. So you guys need to know that in my world, in the psychic world, to read somebody coming through that I would consider to be high profile isn't necessarily like a celebrity, but she is infamous, right? Infamous because of what happened. And
Right.
and I mean, you've been on her case. She has aired on every TV show from Unsolved Mysteries to Rebecca's Messages from Heaven. I mean, like
Yep.
in everything in between.
Yep.
I won't mention podcasts by name, but there must be 10.
Several, yeah.
You know, if not more.
Yes.
It is extremely humbling to learn when you have spoken to somebody who is in spirit in that way. And my immediate draw was to want to help, but I knew that wasn't my place. Well, I know, fast forward, for some reason, I received a piece of information that wasn't psychic.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, like I knew somebody who's going to watch the show and be so thrilled, who had given me a piece of information related to the timeline that I felt I needed to share with you that had nothing to do with psychic. It was just information from point A to
Facts.
point B.
Right.
Facts.
Correct.
Facts.
Just facts.
Things that could be documented,
Yes.
that kind of stuff, you
Yes.
know, firsthand information.
Yep.
And then that's how I met you, because when we hooked back up, it was like instant friendship. I couldn't get enough
It
of you.
was,
I wanted to
yes.
be there for you. I didn't care what it was, whether it was a margarita up the road or if it was going
Right.
to the authorities to have a conversation about
Right.
some of the things that we were
Yes.
discovering. And you said, Rebecca, would you do a group for my family?
Yeah. I
Will
invite
you do a group for my family?
I invite you to a psychic party at my house. Yes.
Do you want to do
for
a
a
psychic
group of my
party?
friends? Yes. Yeah. And you were more than happy to do it.
I was like, absolutely, I'll bring my daughter.
Yep.
So I did. It was myself and my daughter, Julia, and we both
Yes.
walked in.
Yes. Yep.
And you were doing a group, and there was, what, 5 people, 6 people there?
There was 6, maybe 6.
I think there were 6, including
6 women. Yes.
Would you
Yep.
would you mind saying who was there? But before you do, I will just say, because I know, and I want our audience to know, your sister was Susan LaRosa.
Yes.
Susan LaRosa went missing in 1971.
Five.
Oh, 75.
Yes.
And then she was found murdered
3 years later.
in 1978.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I do. You know what? Actually, I don't know why I just didn't look down. She went
fine.
missing from Rockville, not
Yes.
from Tolland, but from
No,
Rockville,
Rockville.
June 22nd, 1975, and she was found murdered in Vernon in
Which,
1978.
if I can add,
Please.
it was 1 month prior to her 21st birthday. Exactly.
Wow.
Yes. 1 month.
1 month.
Yes. Yes.
So not fair.
So not fair.
So not fair.
So not fair.
I don't even know what to say. And tragedy didn't just hit your family once. In a way, it hit your family name twice.
Yes.
And I was driving here, and I mean, I know because I've done research, I know that Irene LaRosa was your sister's husband's sister.
Right.
So it was, in a sense, your sister's sister-in-law.
Absolutely.
Kind of makes it your sister-in-law by
Yeah,
default.
sure.
Right?
Right.
Who also went missing
Yes.
in 1970. That was
Debatable.
Right.
About 1971. That's that one, right?
Correct. But she wasn't reported until
2016.
Correct.
Family never
Okay, so
reported
let's just
it.
say this.
Right.
Bob LaRosa never reported his sister missing between nobody in that
No
family
one.
reported her
Right.
missing from 1971
Right.
to
Right.
2016. Okay, so that's like another whole thing in itself.
Correct.
I am sure. But to sit with you and to know that your family also had interactions with psychics, I'm sure, and between the time of your sister going missing and then the time of her being found, and still having psychics, I'm sure, trying to work with you or get involved, because now it's a murder case and who done
Right,
it becomes
exactly.
the big who done
Yeah.
it kind of thing, because the more pieces to a puzzle, the bigger the puzzle can get.
Yep.
I have had people walk up to me, and it breaks my heart on a day-to-day basis to not be able to answer them as full as we're going to be able to answer them here when they make comments like that.
Right.
But yeah, you did a group at your house.
I did.
And
yes,
you
I did.
and I'm sitting. Tell people what I said, because I don't remember exactly, but I remember looking around the room and being very overwhelmed.
There was. I had 5 of my friends over, 5 women, and you came over. You wouldn't even let me introduce you. First names, nothing.
Right.
So we all just sat down, and we're just getting settled in my living room, and you were pacing just a little, and you looked at us and you said, and I quote, "Oh my God, the 3 sisters are here." And
Yes.
And those 3 sisters are?
it would be my sister Janice Pockett. It was Terry's sister Susan LaRosa, and my friend April's sister Lisa White.
Yes.
And you just said that out of the blue, and we all were in shock. And then you looked at me and said, "What have you done to me?"
Yeah. And I have goosebumps from even that night. I can still feel that
It
when
was
you did
just-
all
yeah,
that.
it gave us all the
you.
chills.
Yeah.
We all had the chills.
Yep.
and we-
Thank you.
It was.
But you know what? There's still going to be
was
people
heavy.
out there who are going to
Heavy.
go, "Oh, well, what did that do for you? Where's your sister?" Like, why don't you get involved? Like, how come she didn't find who did it, who done it? Like, there's so much of that comes into that to me, that it's humbling for me to have been able to read you again and to become friends with you and to meet you in a certain way, where then Spirit came around and kind of gave me facts to share with you that were interesting.
Yeah.
That wound up getting me connected in a way where
Yeah.
I know how to interact with authorities if they so choose, right? Or if the family does.
Right.
But I have questions about all of this, about this topic. What do you think? Have you ever had psychics contact your case, Mary? Like, you have
I
a
certainly-
stack of papers.
Well, I can tell you.
Tell us some.
Since I was a kid, I remember the psychics, because unfortunately, they were just drawn to my family, and unfortunately, it wasn't really a good thing for my mom, especially because they would call 11 p.m. at night and tell her these horrible things about what happened to my sister, and it was a horrible thing for my mom and my dad to have to deal with, and nothing
Not
ever.
to be pushy, but how many times do you think that this happened?
Oh,
that they called in a what, a 10,
I just-
15 year period of time that you were home?
Several.
afterwards?
I mean, probably several times. I just know. I remember my mom, telling me when I was older how
Several is
terrible it was.
4
it
or
was.
more, it's horrible.
And I know that
4 is too many.
not every psychic would call my house. They did talk to the police, and the police would follow through on everything that
Yeah.
they were told. Unfortunately, nothing ever panned out. They searched lakes. They went to all
Because
kinds
of psychics.
because of psychics. Yep. Reservoirs in Vernon, they tried to drain them. I mean, just to try to find things. And I know it happened in the Vernon cases as well. All the girls that were missing in Vernon, psychics came to try to help, find out what had happened. But unfortunately, my mother got a very bad taste of psychics and never just would not believe anything they said. She said, I don't believe that.
After a while,
she just got tired of it. Yeah, it was just, I can't do it anymore,
How many years ago did your mom pass away now?
It was 2009, so it's been just recently the anniversary.
Yeah.
So 14 years is that?
Yeah.
My math isn't good, but
She was alive for a very long time without Janice. That's just,
very long time.
I think of it from a medium's perspective because in my mind, again, when we had our session, I read them together.
Yeah.
And to me, that's how I picture it.
Right.
That's still how it is in my mind.
Right.
Psychics, do they ever contact your family? Oh, look at I can't wait. Tell me. Tell me anything.
It's really different because it's the flip side.
Okay.
Because my sister, even though she was this little tiny person, she was an adult. She was a mother. She was living on her own with a different last name. Nobody ever reached out to us. My mother, however, did reach out. She would remember all the newspapers that you could get. My mom would call everyone if she would see, they'd show pieces of clothing. She'd say, oh my gosh, my daughter was wearing something like that, and da-da-da-da. And it broke her. I mean, it broke her.
That's like pre-internet time. So you're
We're
talking about
1970s.
You're talking about 1-900 numbers. You're talking about psychic ads with
Yes,
crystal balls.
absolutely.
And like
Right.
you're talking about lakeside
Absolutely.
vendors and
Right.
things like that. Not
Right.
that there wasn't. I mean, back in the 70s, there were the Fox sisters in Massachusetts, and some of the psychic resources that were out there. There wasn't a super lot to reach out to, especially in the area. They were more.
Right.
I don't remember. I grew up in the area, and I don't remember there being a psychic sign or you know what I mean. We didn't have.
No.
You didn't look up in the phone book. You didn't really even see it. Maybe in the cities, but not.
Right.
So for her to find everything that she could and
Yeah.
call it, that's desperation.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
It makes me sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad because my sister always told my mom, she said, oh, wait, when I turn 21, I'm going to come streaking by your house. And, for people who don't understand the term streaking, back in the 70s, it meant being naked, butt naked, running around doing whatever you did. I mean, it just was that. And my mom, I remember she sat there the entire day and night, and she smoked. She was a smoker, so she went through so many cigarettes and sat there.
She had gone missing a month before.
1 month.
And she sat there
Yeah.
and
Just waiting.
hoping that she would run by. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah,
That
well,
breaks my heart.
Yeah,
my heart is
I
breaking.
mean, and that's the hardest part for me as a mom.
Yeah,
To this day, it breaks my heart.
it's not fair.
Yeah.
To this day, and
it's not
that's
fair.
the only thing that breaks my heart. I mean, because I'm tough. This has been our lives,
Yeah.
right?
It
I don't
has
know
been your
anything.
lives.
That
And
mom
it's
thing, yeah.
interesting because I know you, but I know Mary
Right.
a little bit better. And
Right.
the way I know you is I know your personal
Right.
life.
Right.
So when you start to get to know somebody's personal life, and this is like an entire subset
It is.
Yeah,
of your
total.
entire
Yep.
life.
Total,
It's
total.
like, it's
Yeah.
almost like too much to handle.
I live my everyday life.
Yeah.
I go to work. I have
Yep.
my family, and I do all that stuff. But it's
Yeah.
always a part of me is
Absolutely.
constantly
Yep.
thinking about my sister.
Yep.
And where is she? And I have to find her.
So
That's
we give
always
props
there.
out to, we're going to give props out to Troop C. We're just going to say that every authority that is connected to this case is positively focused and
They
proactive to doing everything that they can. And I'm going to add in, because people will understand this watching,
Yes.
all that they can do within the means that are provided to them.
And
Unfortunately,
Right.
they have
so
not
true.
the amount of funds
That's
they
what it
need
is.
to allocate
all.
time
That's unfortunately the
to
problem.
the cold cases like
Right.
your sister
Right.
and your sister and Lisa White.
And I truly...
And Irene
all the
LaRosa.
all the others.
And Patty Lucci.
Yes.
Who else? I mean, we could name...
We could go on.
We could go on. And
In the area.
They want to solve these cases.
I'm pretty sure there's 16 missing kids in this area. So let's go into these questions because I don't want to run out of time.
Yes, okay.
And I do want to bring as much attention as possible. So thank you so much for sharing those pieces with you and those emotions. But let's get to the bash on the medium stuff.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Please don't. We're going to start with the good stuff.
Okay.
Okay. I looked, I Googled help from a psychic for a missing person. I Googled it, those words. I shouldn't say Googled, I searched on the internet. And up came every single ad for a psychic you could find possible. Every single ad. I had to scroll through and scroll up to find any kind of information at all. I really didn't find nothing. What I did find was a lot of reference to the words psychic detectives. Do you ever get emails from people who say, I'm a psychic detective? They don't use this word.
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
So from what I understand, a psychic detective is somebody who uses their psychic skills, like I could, as a psychic, to look into case files to try to solve them by finding the missing pieces and sections. So it's a fancy name. You haven't heard it? There's one.
Interesting.
I did also do a lot of information. I actually typed the words in, like psychic, the word psychic, intuitive, metaphysical, new age, mediumship, things like that, into the .gov websites. And I found a really incredible articles. Both the FBI and the CIA have actual documentation on how to present psychics into cases. So it is something that's out there that authorities do have permission to use, and there are outlines on government websites on how to do it. So I found that interesting. So with that being said, what if they can a psychic do to be helpful?
What can they do?
Be blunt.
Well, I love the whole psychic detective idea. I mean, if psychics could have access to some of the case files, that might be helpful. And I think a lot of times with open cases, case files aren't exactly open to other people rather than
they're not. So what can a psychic do? Let's say I'm sitting at home and I'm watching this show, and I'm sitting at home and I'm going, oh my gosh, I have this overwhelming feeling that I want to make sure people in your situation know this. I'm feeling this. I got to say this, because I think that that's what happens to a lot of psychics. Now, mind you, there also could be a lot of people who may see this or hear about this, not from just watching this show or Facebook or whatever, but anywhere that you've been on, because your case is infamous. How can they help?
Well, I have heard from psychics, and I encourage every psychic that's contacted me to contact the state police and please give them your information.
Okay.
Because they have followed through on things they've heard from psychics and checked it out.
Okay.
I know
not
this for-
everything, I'm sure.
Not everything probably, but I know more than one time that they have done. And once, because I asked them, please, just for my peace of mind, would you do this? And they did.
Okay.
They've been very good about that. And I've recently heard of other things they've checked out from what a psychic told them. So any psychic, I encourage them to please speak to the police, because they will follow through. I'd be happy to go with you and speak to the police. I will pass your info on. I do it all the time. I get tips all the time through Facebook about my sister, and every bit of it gets reported to the police.
Okay. Which
I also do my own personal research, I will admit. Okay. But
I've done some of that with you.
Yes,
it's on
you
trifold
have, yeah.
walls.
Oh, yes,
it's got
yes,
strings
yes.
attached. Have you seen this thing we
I was
did?
there.
Oh, that's
I was there
right.
with
You
you
were
guys,
there.
yes.
We've
do
done
that.
a lot.
Yeah,
But for a psychic to be able to help you, what I think I'm hearing you say is bypass you and send it to the state police. If
You're more than welcome to talk to me as well, but please talk to the police. Yes, they need to hear it from your mouth, directly from you. Yes, that's how I feel.
Because more than likely you're going to read it and
they
pass
will
it
meet
on.
with you, right?
Yeah.
Me passing it on is not as good as you speaking directly to
Absolutely.
them. They need to hear it from you.
That's what I wanted you to
Right.
say, right?
I
need
agree
to
with
hear
her
it.
100% because they have the facts.
Right.
We have ideas.
Exactly.
We don't have the facts, okay? They have already, crossed things off their list. We don't
Exactly.
we're not privy to that.
Right.
Even though they're our sisters, we are
Even
not
though it's
privy.
50 years now.
Yeah, exactly. We're not privy to
still-
that. So,
Okay.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's exactly what they should be doing.
Okay.
But, you know?
I'm going to say from my perspective as a medium, I find it extremely unethical for any psychic medium to ever contact the family of a missing person directly. That if they feel strong enough about their impression, that they should take that strong feeling, write it all down in complete documentation, and
Yes.
either mail it or email it
Right.
directly
Absolutely.
to the police
Or
officer
hand it to them
on
in
the
person
missing
if you
person's
want.
case.
Yep.
Go there and say, I am a psychic. I have written down documentation of what I've received. Here, please give this to.
And-
because
yes.
I think it's damaging, like you said about your mom, and like you said about
It
your
can
mom.
be.
You may be a strong individual who, after 50 years, can handle a psychic sending you information, but somebody who may have like a missing child from a year ago,
Right.
or a week ago, or 5 months ago, or
It's-
5 years
it's
ago, or
different.
10 years ago is different than 50 years ago.
Absolutely. I've
So-
known nothing else my whole life.
Same
so-
here. Yep.
And the police can take this information and they can even fact check it with the case files. They'll know, okay, look
Right,
at
that's
this.
what you were saying.
Yes,
They will,
absolutely.
What
they
this
will
person's
review.
saying, wow, this is true. You know, they can and take it from there. They have that info. I don't. They
Which
can,
makes sense.
It does, and
It
they
makes
can look
sense.
up past suspects. Believe me, there's only
All this cross-reference
thousands
stuff
of
is-
suspects
yes.
in my sister's case that
Thousands.
that have some have been ruled out, and many they could never rule out. So
Your case
maybe
actually
I should
had
say hundreds, but I'm telling you,
hundreds is a lot of people.
probably thousands in the beginning of people they looked at.
Can
but,
you imagine hundreds of suspects in your sister's
and some
kidnapping?
that were never
Hundreds.
ruled out. They just couldn't rule them out.
One of the worst for me was when one of the suspects got a day trip out of sharing information that didn't pan out.
Yeah, that
So
happens,
that's-
unfortunately.
It
a
does
lot.
happen, and it happens in a lot of cases, not
Right,
just yours.
Right, a lot of cases.
All right. How do you feel they can be helpful for your case? Because your sister went missing and then was found
Correct.
in the same town. I mean, we say she went missing in
Right.
Rockville. She was found in Vernon. Rockville is Rockville, Vernon,
Semantics.
Talcottville. We're all one
Yeah,
zip code.
exactly.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, you think about that scenario, and then you think, well, I mean, we're local. We're local. This happened local. This was local. Where do we go from here?
Well,
But psychics, what can they do?
I mean, I would say basically the same thing she said. However, like, we were not approached by any psychics. We weren't. I think because my sister was found, it's sort of like, you know what I
Fizzled
mean? Fizzled out. Because, and yes, I mean, and I tell Mary every day, I feel so lucky in April, and like, I'm blessed because
Yeah,
we had a
because April
body to
doesn't
put to
know-
rest.
right.
You know, right.
But like, however, like the only thing I want, if I had a wish, it would be that she and April could
Get their
have
sisters.
someone to put to rest. Honestly, that's all I care about.
Yeah, Lisa
know?
White and Janice Pockett and the
they
story
were
and the
babies.
timeline.
They were babies, for God's sake.
They were. Your sister was how old?
She was 7.
Yeah.
7 and a half.
And Lisa was
14.
14.
They're babies.
And little.
Yeah,
She was
and just
still
like
little.
my sister was 20, but she was tiny. She was 4'10", maybe 100 pounds,
Let's say that there was a psychic impression that somebody could give you on the who, what, or where, or what happened. How would that help you? Or
Well,
would that help you? Because this is an unsolved case.
It's still
It is.
unsolved homicide.
It is an unsolved homicide. This is one of those cold cases
Right,
where
it
people
is.
come up to me and they're like, "Why aren't you solving cold cases?" and I'm
Well-
like, "I can't get into the files." But
Maybe we can work that out.
and I truly believe that when I first met you, you gave me so much clarity. Like you kind of, I thought all the things that you were telling me. And you, right, Mir?
Yes.
Like,
You make me cry right
absolutely.
now.
no, but I'm
Yep.
serious.
No, it's
I'm like,
true.
you solidified in beyond. So you brought me, like, there's no such thing as closure. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't, there's no such
That's
thing.
okay. But if it was a pretend closure, I'll take it.
No, but it felt like I felt when I left there that night.
Right.
I really did. But like I'm still holding her sister and April's sister in my heart because we need things
So at
to
the
happen.
moment, you're okay with
Yes.
where it stands. I'm so happy to have been on that path.
I am so happy.
I'm so
Thank
happy
you.
you were on
Thank
the
you.
path.
No,
You
absolutely.
make me so emotional.
Well-
again, because it's high profile, and
It
because
is.
well, she did throw me to the wolves that day. I did have no clue.
Let me tell ya.
absolutely
So I think
threw
about
you to the wolves. I'm
you,
sorry,
you kind
Rebecca.
of did.
But you
So tell me this
were
because
amazing. You were.
tell me this. If they can be, so I would suggest strongly as a medium and ethically, never ever, go to the family. I think if family reaches out to me,
That's
my
different.
first impression is still to say back to them, are you working with authorities? I mean, if it's
Right.
a child, of course they are.
Yeah.
If it's an adult, sometimes people are just looking for people. So I do
Right.
tell the psychics to be a little bit weary. I've had many phone calls from people looking for missing people who are adults. So,
Right.
and you never know. So I always ask for authorities information, or can you send me a newspaper article?
Right.
Can you,
Yeah,
I mean, you
right.
could send 9,000 pages of where you've been documented.
Right.
So, all right. So, how should a psychic share the insight with you? So, like, should they wait to be asked if you come around to them? Like, you didn't ask me out when we had our appointment. You didn't reference anything. So I took that in
Right.
one way, and I already said like emailing you is okay, but I'd rather see them email or compile it to them. It's the harassment. So one of the things that I want to talk about really quick is how is that harassment from the mediums or the psychics? How can you inform them or inform us that how it's painful and it's wrong and it's hurt? Like you've had some people, they latch on, then they have to let go of it in some way.
I did have to finally step back from one medium that I was in contact with for quite a while, and it just got too much for me, and I felt like even though, information did go to authorities and it was all checked out, but I think I was so hanging on to some kind of hope that something was going to happen. And finally I realized this has gotten so out of control and unbelievable that I need to step back, and I finally had to.
Because mediums
to
do
that,
that.
and
When we get latched onto something, Mary, it's hard for us to get off of the topic.
It was very hard, but I had to step back for a bit,
She is the sweetest, kindest person I know, okay?
I know.
Of
Trust
the
me, it comes
sisters-
across to everybody
of
that
the
way.
sisters, she's the one that's the sweetie.
I've
it's
met
a different
April.
story.
You and April are
I
pair.
If one time, if I,
God bless April.
yes, I would have just said, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And then beyond that,
Right.
I would have just deleted
Right.
them.
But
okay?
some mothers out there, they are really like, give me more, give me more, give me
I
more.
think I hang
And that's
on
their choice.
to hope so much that I'm gonna solve this.
So
Like,
right.
I don't know.
I want psychics to realize that it's not something they should keep on with either. Like they don't, the relationship with spirit should be get the message and come across. So here's the thing I want to say.
Okay.
When it comes to Janice and any kind of casework on this missing persons, and I say it that way because that's what the topic of this really is. I have an impression, and I have shared it with you quite a few times, but in
Yes.
small doses, because
Yes, I know.
what I have felt has been really hard.
Right.
And what I believe is a compilation of both facts that I've learned along the way, being local, meeting people who knew people, and
Right.
bringing all of that together outside. And my roadblock to being able to help you is because it is a question of getting the authorities. And I'm going to say that there is a connection, and we are at that point, and there does seem to be progress.
Yeah.
More than I've seen knowing you in 10 years.
Right.
I feel everything is going in the right direction. I can say that I was told by a detective once, if I was to ever have a psychic in to help me and they ever spoke about it publicly, I would never hire them again.
Right. Okay.
Right? So whether a psychic has or hasn't shouldn't be up for conversation with the psychic itself. So even if somebody was to say that to me, I almost can't respond.
Right.
Because the authorities tell me not to, or they tell me that they tell psychics who get involved in cases, don't talk about it or we won't ask you for help again. So the reality of it is the person who says to me, why aren't you helping, may not ever know if I do or don't, because
That's absolutely
right?
true. And that's okay. They don't need to know.
But I know a lot of psychics who have worked on some cases who have been helpful like I was with you and brought some clarity and some validation and
Absolutely.
and maybe something that looks like peace
Right.
to a scenario.
It's as good as it's going to get.
And that's good. So
yeah.
you and I are on the same page.
Yeah.
Let's find the rest.
Yeah.
But when I originally came to you, I wasn't looking to come to you to solve my sister's case. I was coming to you and I was hoping that I would at least hear from one of my parents and my sister. And that's all I wanted. And I did. And you gave a lot of good information. But I wasn't coming with the hopes of,
Right.
She's going to tell me what happened.
Which makes me so happy
you
because
know,
we
I just
became
needed
friends
that
way.
connection. Right. Yes.
I
we
got
did,
to say
yes.
hi to you without
Yes.
it being like,
Right.
oh, it's Elvis.
Yeah. None of that.
Right.
None of that.
None of
There
that.
was
Exactly.
none of that.
It
No.
wasn't.
And
You're right.
honestly, I think that if I had known, I may have been nervous or curious
Right.
because I'm a psychic and it's a missing person. Of course, I need to be
Right.
curious.
Yeah.
And my mindset and my direction may have gone in a different way.
Right.
And it didn't for that, which is why I feel so blessed that I was able to
Right.
do that. When I got to your group and I was reading the others, I knew immediately what I was going into.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I knew that there was going to be like casework and conversation.
Right.
And here I am, a psychic medium who sat with, with another family member of mine, and we read you guys, and we still don't know where Janice and Lisa are. Do you know what I mean? So I sit here and I say, all of those people who say those words, they're right. They're right. I wish I could. And that's hard and it's humbling and it's personal. And when I was reading those cases, especially your sister's, where now she's, she has been found, and so you know facts.
Right.
It hurt. I'm only one person. I'm
Right.
only one human. So when they say that to a psychic, sometimes I feel like the psychic should respond with, "I can't emotionally handle that. Can you? Can you?" But I get what they're saying, and it is a hot topic, and they are right.
Right.
And not only that, but I don't have all the time in the world.
Right.
I have
Right.
kids, I have things, and if I'm going
Right.
to put my mind to something, it has to be my entire mind
Right.
and all of my attention, and
Absolutely.
and then the authorities and getting. So there's so many different variables, but
There are, yeah.
There are. You can't. It's not a black and white thing.
No, it's-
with the psychics and the law. I think it has to be, like you said, you talked about the harassment. It becomes harassment when somebody says no, thank you, and they
Right.
continue. So you didn't reach out to me. I came to a party.
Right.
yeah.
And it was like you knew so much, and it was
I just have
Freaks
I
me
have
out.
ethics when it comes to that.
Right,
That's why.
right.
And I think psychics and mediums should. So to wrap up, because we've only got a couple of minutes left, tell me what you think about that whole topic. Like, have you ever felt like saying that? Well, solve my case then, or find this person then. Like, have you, as the person personally involved?
Right.
I mean, you have two missing family members in a
Right.
sense, an in-law and a
Right.
sister who was
Right.
murdered. So, and one missing. So
Right.
you kind of have both
Right.
sides as
Right.
far as the knowledge of it.
right. Like I said, I feel like for me personally, with my sister, you brought me as much clarity that I probably am ever going to get. And again, I had found my sister. The other, family member, I pray for the family, but that's all I can do.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to go down that road with
That's
that
fine.
person. Yeah, I just, I did what I needed to do for me. And that's what it is.
So the psychic
it was a
helped.
great thing for me to do.
And that whole scenario helped.
Absolutely did.
Even though it didn't solve any mystery.
Well,
it didn't bring somebody
right.
to justice. It didn't
Right.
finish this. Didn't solve this cold case for you.
It didn't, but it is solved in my heart and in my mind. It's solved.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
So
I like that.
yeah,
That's good.
It is.
I just don't think it's not an easy thing to do for a psychic to just say, oh yeah, this is what happened. I don't think it works that way. I think, I know police have worked very hard on my sister's case for 50 years. I know they have. They can't work on it all the time. Would they like to? Yes, they would. Can they?
Sure.
No, it's not in the budget. They would love to solve my sister's case. Are you kidding? I mean,
We all do.
they all do, and so would probably every psychic. I just don't think it's that simple. My parents had to come to the realization that I'm never going to know what happened to my sister. I mean, to my daughter, to my child, and I'm not there yet. I'm still hopeful, and so I'm thinking a psychic can help. I really do.
absolutely.
I think I'm all for anything right
So
now.
it does.
It does.
But do you say that because it's 50 years? And do you think, because I'm going to sit here from an outsider who does not have a missing family member. If it was my sister who went missing at 7 years old and maybe I was 20 or 25 and it was that recent for me, or if I'm you and I'm sitting here and it was 50 years ago, I can't imagine the desperation would be any different or any stronger. It's like you can't measure it. You can't measure grief.
You can't.
But to me, I worry that, then I think when people do say, well, why don't you just solve this case? I love that you honored that that's not how psychic works.
I know it doesn't work that way. It would have been solved a long time ago if that was how it worked.
Right.
I just think between maybe a psychic's help and people coming forward that know information that maybe even don't know they know it or are holding back for whatever reason, please just come forward.
Exactly.
Yep.
You don't even have to say who you are.
Right.
Platforms just as this
Please come
that
forward
we're doing right now.
and give that information to the state police. I have their phone number if you need it.
I'll make sure I post it
Yes.
under this, and you know what? We'll make sure that at the end of this episode, we put all the pictures and all the information that we need to put out and put up for you.
That would be great. And if everyone could come to the 50th
Yes.
memorial gathering
Please.
in July in Tolland, information to be coming. I
Yes.
would love a big crowd because I really need
The bigger the
to
better.
just memorialize my sister and
Perfect.
get that out there.
We're gonna
People
do it.
know
Because
people,
we can do
know
it.
people.
And people will talk
weird.
and people will give
Yep.
information. It can be this little piece of information that
Yep.
Yeah.
no
It
one
can
knows
be.
is important.
And it's true.
It can
Maybe
just,
I should say that after all these years. Maybe I should say something. That's what we need is that person or
We
that
do.
moment or that.
Just that one
even
little
that
thing.
one psychic who says, you know what? I've been holding this in for 15 years. I'm
Yep.
going to now send it to the state
Please
police on
do.
Mary and Terry's behalf.
and they could see, wow, this just clicks with what's in our case files here, and there you go. There's that piece, and we can
Yeah.
put it all together.
Yeah.
it's there somewhere out there. I know it is.
I love you guys. I love
We
you guys.
love you.
so
We
much.
love you.
I love you.
We
so
love
much.
you.
Thank you for letting me put this topic on in this way because
Absolutely.
it is important. It really is important. There's a lot of really good intuitives out there who can. There's a lot of really good intuitives out there who won't. And thank you, everybody, for tuning into Messages from Heaven.
Yes.
This has been an excellent episode.
Yes.
Mwah. I love you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you
and
for
stay in
having
touch.
us.
Yes,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.